Welcome to Game Changer Live, brought to you by Connor's Coaching. We created this show and our growing community to share topics about positivity, coaching, personal development, mindset, and business. And we are live because we believe it brings the most authentic and unedited version of ourselves to you so that you can see what you would be working with if you choose to hire us. We start every Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time with occasional guests like today, and together we inspire. Today I'm joined by Dean Isaacs. Dean Isaacs is the founder of the Vantage Group, a sales and marketing strategy consulting firm, and also a founder of the Gross Collaborative for business experts and consultants like me. So Dean, tell us a little bit about yourself and what your passions in business is.
Well, thanks, Daniel. I really appreciate you having me on today. This is going to be fun. My passion is really helping business owners achieve their goals and dreams, and doing it through the vehicle of their business so they can have an impact and improve their life, the life of the business, the life of their employees, and ultimately the life of their clients. And so that's what drives me every day. And you and I both know that revenue is the lifeblood of business. And so that's the part of the business I help business owners really focus on, is driving profitable revenue without driving themselves into the ground.
Awesome. Awesome. So you told us a little bit about the types of people that you work with, but really specifically, if there was someone in the audience who could really use your particular skills, or really should perk up and listen to what you're here to talk to us about today, who would that be? What would they look like?
Yeah. The core of our clients are B2B experts in business, consulting, marketing agencies, people providing professional services to other businesses. Their knowledge and wisdom is what they monetize. So those are the folks that we work with. And really, we look for clients, or clients really come to us that want to transition from the low value clients that have to charge an hourly rate for and justify every hour, to high ticket, high value clients that require less time but drive more profit and revenue in their business, and really provide a system and a structure that they can go out and grow their business as quickly as they want around those types of clients. So those are the kinds of folks we typically work with.
Awesome. Awesome. And most of my guests that come on my show are in that kind of profession. I think I would even describe the work that you're doing in that same regard. So other marketing agencies, probably
Absolutely.
consulting
Yeah.
firms. Sure. We could all use that extra third party support in building this, because it is hard. No one is prepared to run a business by themselves. that is
So,
that is
so
not something that they teach.
the whole entrepreneur thing sounds so glamorous and so fun, and it's like it's a lot of work. It is a lot of work. I've run three different agencies in my career over the last 18 years. Before I came out of corporate before that, and that transition, right? It's not easy, and it's not for everyone. So I try and share a lot of the lessons I've learned over the last 18 years to shortcut that for other business owners.
Yeah. So, and you're here to talk to us today really about that kind of transition to that selling, that selling your services. And I know that a lot of us feel anxiety or frustration, or we're worried about losing our personal identities or our ethics or morals when we go into sell. And I think that that's what you're here to talk to us about today. Am I correct in that?
Right, absolutely. We've got to find a way to trade our knowledge and wisdom for money, for revenue, right? If
Yeah.
we don't have that, then it's a hobby, it's not a business. And so
Yeah.
there's a lot of barriers and roadblocks for us as knowledge experts, right? To have a sales conversation. And so, yeah, we're going to talk about the things that get people stuck, and how to unstick yourself when it comes to sales conversations.
Yeah, and yeah, such a good topic, unsticking yourself. So, and it makes me think, just to go off on a tangent here for a second. We did an episode not too long ago about the ikigai, which is your life purpose, right? And there's four overlapping circles with your ikigai: what you love to do, what you're good at doing, what the world needs from you. But that fourth one is really what you're talking about, is what you can get paid for, is how you can get money. And you can't have that ikigai purpose, that your life purpose on earth, without that fourth wheel. And yet it's so difficult to think about for some of us.
It is. If you have those four circles, it's trying to find where they all intersect in the middle, right?
Right,
That's
that's the
where we're
ikigai.
playing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, what makes it difficult for service professionals to sell their services?
It's a big question, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot. So I think that there are a number of things. One is our own personal experience, sort of projecting our personal experience of being sold to, manipulated, pushed into making a decision, and we project that onto the outside world. So the old used car scenario, right? What is it going to take for me to get you into this car today, Daniel? What payment do you need? It's repulsive, right? It doesn't work. It
My
doesn't work.
father, you're talking with the voice of my father, who was a car salesman. So yeah,
Yeah.
I hear that.
And
I hear that.
there are some amazing consultative salespeople that are in the car business, and then there are used car guys, right? So I think that's the first thing, is that we believe that we don't want to we don't want to put that on somebody else. We don't want it
Right.
done to ourselves, so we don't want to put it on somebody else. So it's our belief system more than anything else. So I would say that's the first thing. The other thing is what we believe others perceive is our value is the other thing. Not what they actually perceive as our value, but what we believe they perceive is our value in the services and products we provide. It's the imposter syndrome thing, right?
Yes.
That's another huge barrier.
Or even seeing your own strengths or your own self-value, going beyond the imposter syndrome. If you went to someone on the street and said, what is your superpower? It would be difficult conversation for them. But if you ask someone to describe someone else's superpower, it's a lot easier, right? Because we can see the value in other people and we can promote that value in other people, but it's so difficult for us to do it for ourselves. So how do you make that, that leap is what I'm hearing you talk about.
It is, yeah. We're told to have an elevator pitch or whatever you want to call it, right? And again, that's like this artificial statement about what we believe others perceive us as.
Yeah. Yes,
And
absolutely.
it feels wrong. It feels weird.
It feels manipulative. And that's the thing that we're trying to avoid, is manipulative. Just be ourselves, be authentic.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So where have you seen people do it themselves and do it wrong? What are some of the pitfalls that people have found themselves in?
Well, I think when you just use the word sales, it conjures this image, right? Whether it's a used car guy or anything else, it's not a positive image in our mind. And so when we think we've got a prospect or a lead, we're going to have a sales call. We're going to have a sales call. What does that mean? In our mind, it means we have to come out the winner. We have to convince and move them down a path to get them to say yes.
Yeah, you're hunting prey at that point. It's not cooperative, it's not collaborative.
Exactly.
It's life or death.
Yeah, it's a win or lose situation.
Yeah.
But the truth is if you change the way you perceive that conversation, you change the way you approach the conversation, and it changes how you interact with another person. So you use the word collaborative, and that's a word I use a lot, is building a collaborative relationship versus selling to a prospect changes everything. So I think that's a mindset thing as much as it is a knowledge thing, right? So if just coming into it, knowing that we're going to show up to serve and not to sell. And as people that are selling our knowledge, that's what we want to do. We want to serve. We want to make a difference. And so we can do that in the very first interaction we have one-on-one with a potential client. And that changes everything.
What are some of the other tips that you can give us that would help us provide kind of I don't know, I don't like the quick fix idea, because it's not quick and it's not easy. Because really what you're talking about, the fundamental of what you're talking about, is the exact thing that I work with people on as a coach, right? It's overcoming yourself, because we're oftentimes our own worst enemy or our own obstacle.
Yeah.
And so what are some of the ways that you see as an opportunity for people to approach, imposter syndrome or that kind of icky sales feeling?
Yeah. I think one of the easiest things to do is, if you imagine yourself in that kickoff call with a new client, right? What is the first few things that you do with a new client, that first call? You ask questions. You do discovery, you dig deep, you uncover. What if you took that approach and you use that in your sales call with the prospect? Let them learn, let them become educated, let them uncover things, collaborate with them. They'll experience your knowledge, your wisdom, your expertise without you having to sell or say anything. They'll come away from that conversation with tons and tons of value and realize, I have a client, I'll give you an example. So I'm working with a client, been working with her for a couple of years now, and she's in the management consulting business. So business consulting stuff, right? Technical, lots of finance, operations stuff, but very technical role. And she found that she was able to generate sales calls, sales opportunities with some of her marketing that we were working on her with, but she wasn't converting those conversations into clients. And she came into this sort of conversation again with the sales mindset, win or lose, close them or move on kind of thing. And what was happening is she was asking questions, in essence, pushing, right, that whole negative approach. And when you push on somebody, what do? They sort of step back. So you're creating a gap between you and this person you want to really build a relationship with. And so we went through a process of re-engineering how she handled these calls. And it was exactly what I just described for you. We went through her typical onboarding discovery process after she's closed the client, and we picked out 4 or 5 questions that she just led with on the call. And these CEOs dropped their guard, opened up, shared all of everything. And at the end of the calls, most of the time, 94% of the time, they said, I want to continue this. How do we work together?
Yeah. It's, it sounds a lot like going on a first date. If you just talk about yourself the whole time, it's not a great first date for the other person. But if you're curious and you give them an opportunity to talk, you learn a lot about them, and you also can build on those commonalities that you discover.
Yeah. And it sounds so intuitive, but very rarely does it ever happen. It just doesn't happen. So having a structure, having a plan for that call is important. That's sort of the technical side of the call. But ultimately, like you said at the beginning, be yourself and engage, right? If a prospect can experience what it's like working with you during that process, they're more likely to work with you if it's a fit. And if it's not a fit, then that's okay. You can refer them off, you can move on, you can do whatever makes sense, but you've established a relationship.
Fit is so important for coaches. I want to go off on a tangent for a second. Yeah. It's the number one thing that I look for in a client. It's my discovery calls, if you will, are always really focused on whether or not we're a good fit. I already know that I can do miracles with people, but they have to be the right fit. They have to have the right mindset. One of the things that they have to do is they actually have to pick up the phone and make an initial call, because it shows that they're ready to make the kinds of changes and challenge themselves the way that they need to in order to work with me. Yeah. So knowing that it's a lifesaver. It's a game changer, pun intended, to really embody that, for sure.
Yeah. And I think we've all taken on the client that wasn't the right fit. Certainly in our early days, are like, hey, I can do that. I can help with that. Let's work together. And very rarely does that play out.
And then you find yourself painted into a corner because you started at the wrong end.
Absolutely. Yeah. So a lot of times in these discovery calls, I'll lead with that. Look, the point of this call is to see if you like me and what I've got to say, and I like you and what you've got to say, and is there a fit? Because what happens is, in many of these sales calls, discovery calls, we unconsciously, subconsciously create a parent-child relationship. They're the parent, we're the child, and everything they say, we say yes to. But when you establish this fit conversation, and that's the goal, you establish a peer-to-peer relationship, and it changes the tone.
It's easier to build the bridge if you're both working on it from two sides of the same canyon at the same
Nobody's
level.
got more power than anybody else, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels like a power struggle, and it shouldn't be.
Yeah. Well, you have a couple of different resources that you're kind of bringing to us. One of them is kind of a quiz, and I have a link that I'm ready to post in chat, and I'll post in the comments at the end of this video. But tell us a little bit about those products.
Yeah. So what you're referring to is the Revenue Roadblocks quiz, and what it is, it's a a scorecard. It's an assessment that you take. It takes 3 to 4 minutes at most, and it asks you a bunch of questions about the 4 pillars of business growth: marketing, sales, systems, and strategy. Right. And at the end of taking the quiz, you get this free scorecard. It's part of the output of the quiz. And it will quickly show you where you score on each of those 4 areas. And then there's a whole bunch of action items and tips and tricks you'll get as part of the scorecard. You can go try it in your business. There's no cost to it. There's no, you have to get on a sales call with me. None of that. It's totally, it's out there, no obligation. Hop on the assessment, take the quiz. And if you have questions, you can certainly reach out and ask. I'm happy to just sort of run through things, but it really will start to help you focus as a business owner, and also make you shift from thinking about being the subject matter expert, solopreneur, to transitioning to thinking about your business and being a business owner. Right. And that's a big shift, mindset shift too, right? Because it helps you highlight which of those areas you should be focusing on or getting help to focus on.
Where you have opportunity is because you're not lacking. You just have opportunity to take advantage of that. And maybe that is by hiring an expert. And maybe that's not where you are in your business is kind of what I'm hearing you say. And you're there to support them with that, with this free tool. And I posted it in the comments along with my note to make sure I posted it in the comments. So it's in there. Like I said, live and unedited, because that's how you see it, us at our most authentic. So I make mistakes too. So what would be another opportunity for people to work with you? I think you had mentioned something that you're starting at the end of March.
Yeah, so when we're starting the next group, the next growth collaborative group, which is a group of no more than 10 business owners, and it fits that profile I described earlier: business experts, consultants, and agencies that really want to elevate their game and elevate the kind of clients they work with, increase the average deal size, extend the lifetime value of a client. So that's the value you deliver and the value you receive. So it's a 12-week group program that we go through, and I lay it all out. I mean, I give you 18 years of experience of the things I've screwed up and the things that I figured out that work, to really accelerate your growth. Because as we said earlier, entrepreneurship's tough. It's tough. So having that blueprint and then having a support mechanism around you is really a huge game changer for the members. And the other thing that people tend to get out of it is they build relationships, which often leads to referrals, which often just pays for the program in itself anyway. But, building that community of like-minded people that can help serve you and you can help serve, that's what we're in this business for, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a group that I kind of started as well that's kind of in that same mindset of how can we support each other? I am not good at bookkeeping. It's terrible. As an entrepreneur, it is a blind spot for me. But I have a friend who is a bookkeeper, and she can help me out, and I can refer business to her as I come across it. So to me, that makes total sense, because you're not only giving that kind of that window to see that other people are also not perfect and they also have issues that you can help with, but also support each other and learn along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm a sales and marketing consultant. That's what I do. But most of my business comes from referral, right? I generate leads all the time. But still, if I look at over the span, even the last 5 or 10 years, the best and highest value clients came from referral. So you having that referral network and knowing how to utilize it effectively, right, is really important, right? And we can go off on a little tangent here. When we all went out into business on our own at the beginning, everybody said, go network, meet as many people as you can. And it's like death by coffee meeting, right? It's just like, I cannot. And when after 6 months of doing that, you have this long list of people you met, but nothing to show for it. No referrals coming. And so it's not the who you know, it's who knows and remembers you and the relationships you build.
Yeah. So, and being really clear on your processes so that they are really clear on them when you're talking about it. I can tell you that the first time I started doing networking, my biggest mistake was not knowing what I was offering. I was really good at finding out what other people were offering, but what is it that I'm offering?
Yeah,
So that's an important thing to get in there
it is.
with.
I call it being easily referable, right?
Yeah,
Are you
and we
easily
that's
referable?
how we met. That's how you became a
That's
guest
right.
on my show, is we were on a networking event, and it was run by a lovely lady, but I described it later to a loved one as being yelled at by the lady from Chicago, because she talked very loud in a way that was inconsistent with how I talk to people. Anyway, but that's how we
Yep.
met, and that was a good referral network, and we saw an opportunity to collaborate. So that's really what
Yeah,
that's talking
that's
about,
what.
and in a way, that's selling too, right?
Mhm.
When you go to those networking events and you're telling someone else what you do and what you offer, and you're figuring out how to collaborate with them on their level, you're building that bridge that you're
You are.
talking about.
You are. Yeah, in that particular group, it was a large group. It was a big
Huge.
networking group. And so how do you stand out in a group of 50, 60, 70 other people on Zoom, right?
Yes.
And we were able to do that. So I'm appreciative of that event, for having met you.
Yeah, I got I think I got 4 or 5 guests from that event, and so I'm very thankful for it as well. Yeah. So Dean, tell us. So we got off on a long tangent, um, but I think it was relevant, and I want to go back to that growth collaborative that you're talking about, that's going to be starting up again at the end of March. If someone's interested in that, what would be the best way for them to take advantage of that opportunity?
The best way you can reach out to me, I'll get an email when if you take the quiz. I'll know then, right? You can probably the best way is just hop on LinkedIn, find me on LinkedIn. I'm easily found, and shoot me a DM. Say, hey, I saw you on Daniel's show. Connect with me, send me a message. Be a person, be a human, right?
Yeah.
Show me a little bit of love. I'll show you some love back, and we'll chat.
Awesome. Awesome, Dean. Um, and so I know that that is kind of more of a group collaboration. I'm assuming that that's kind of different than working with you on a one-on-one level. Can you give us a little bit of an insight as to what it would be like to work with you, directly, or through this group, through the growth
Collaborate.
collaborative?
Yeah. So the big difference is most of my one-on-one clients are larger businesses.
Mhm.
So they're usually already generating 3 to 25 million in revenue. And so we're working on a lot of the business growth strategy stuff, right? Sales and marketing and growth and all of those things. So it's a different sort of consulting relationship. But with coaches and consultants, I get to bring all of that fun stuff I do with the corporate clients down into a group, and you get to benefit from the wisdom of what's working in the marketplace. So it's very similar in terms of relationship and the knowledge that we share. We just do it in a group format, so everybody's learning together. And there's a different level of accountability too in a group, right? I have some corporate clients that they spend a ton of money with us. We do a lot of work, and they just kind of get stuck on the hamster wheel, right? They don't change.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard to change in a corporate
I
environment.
imagine that it's a little like more exciting to work with those smaller businesses. They're a little more agile and a little bit more ready to take on the wisdom that you're offering.
It's so much fun because there's often low-hanging fruit opportunities where we can do a few things, and it's like, holy cow, we just doubled their revenue. But if you're already doing 10 million, you're not going to double your revenue that quickly, right? It's going to take
Hopefully
some
not.
time. Right. That causes
Otherwise, you
more.
were doing something majorly wrong.
Right, exactly. But if you're generating 10 grand a month, 20 grand a month, doubling in a relatively manageable period of time is really doable if we do some things well. And that's the benefit of the groups. There's obviously a structure to what we go through, but even like I said, just getting the referrals and relationships sometimes can add exponentially to your bottom line because of the revenue you can produce there. So that's really the big difference is in the one-on-one corporate environment, I'm dealing with the leadership team. In the smaller environments, I'm dealing with the owner, the operator, the expert, and we can really make some changes happen quickly.
Awesome. Well, Dean, it has been really lovely to have you on our show again. Dean has the revenue roadblocks quiz. I'll be posting a link for that in the comments as well. It's already in the chat, that you could open up and look at if you want to right now. It's a free resource that you can use. And if you are interested in working with him, there's a great opportunity to join his mastermind at the end of March. And the best way to do that is to reach out to him on LinkedIn, it sounds like.
That's the
So,
best way.
Dean, thank you so much for being here and being a great guest on our show. I really hope that we get to have you back. And thank you, audience, for being here and listening to our show. Really couldn't do this without you. That's the whole point of our show, is because together we are greater than we are individually. Together we inspire each other. And tune in next week for more life coaching information. And I will see you then. Bye.